Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to Super Lunch Bros Podcast, episode number 142. I am Brendan. UFC Fight Night, Cater versus Emmett. We are going to go over the prelims right now. If you're looking for the main card, including the main event, go back to my last video. I broke down each fight on the main card. We're just going to do the prelims here. Usually the prelim videos go a little bit quicker for multiple reasons, but not the least of which is it's the prelims, and I'm not detailing every single thing that happens in every single round. Unless you guys really want me to. If the views and reception dictate that I do that, then I will start doing that. That being said, if you like this channel, if you like the UFC, if you like MMA, if you like any of this stuff, I do at least 2 or 3 videos every single week, and I'd appreciate it if you subscribe, because then you would know when the next video is coming out, and you'll be able to watch it. It's fun stuff. Anyway, I appreciate y'all for coming here. Let's get into the fights. Okay, the main fight on the prelim card here. Jasudavicius versus Natalia Silva. This was a blowout. I don't even need to break this down round by round, but Natalia Silva looked amazing. Right? Apparently she's had a long layoff. This is her UFC debut. She had a long layoff. She hasn't fought since 2019, I believe, and her last loss came in 2017 or 2018 or something like that. So, she just wrecked Jasudavicius. It wasn't even close. I felt like I was watching an amateur taking on a professional fighter in this. I felt I don't even know how to describe it. You can go round by round, but Silva was throwing hard. She rocked Jasmine early. She was picking her apart, timing her shots, throwing stuff. She throws hard. Spinning kicks. She was throwing everything and anything she wanted. Jasudavicius wasn't able to do anything. This fight was a mauling. It looked like it was a crime. It was not the most. It was fun to watch in that, like, you get to watch somebody just show out and get to show all their skills and all that stuff. But as far as like a competitive fight, there's nothing competitive about that one. All right. A lot of these fights on this card ended very early. So Jeremiah Wells knocking out Court McGee relatively early. Wells caught him with a left hook and put him out. What was it? A minute and 34 seconds into the first round. Not much to say here. Wells hits hard. Court McGee's old. All right. Not much to break down. Again, these are prelim fighters here. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're nobodies or anything like that. It's not like that. It's just that there wasn't much to talk about. All right, Ricardo Ramos, Ricardo Ramos. Was he Brazilian? I don't remember how they pronounce it now that I think about it. Versus Danny Chavez, the Colombian warrior. All right, Ramos getting the knockout win here. Same thing. Like, he had the spinning back elbow. The up and then down spinning back elbow. Really cool knockout. Incredible that it landed the way it did, and just it put him out freaking cold, man. He looked good. He was throwing spinning shit. He was throwing hard stuff, but the fight didn't last very long, so there's not much to break down. All right, so here's one that did go the distance. It was a weird one to watch. So Maria Oliveira getting the decision win over Gloria DePaula here. Let's see here. Oliveira started hot and with lots of output. Sloppy output, mind you, but output nonetheless, and a lot of it. And then she started talking shit and then licking her hand and saying, come on, like, as she's getting picked apart, because DePaula was a cleaner striker, especially with Oliveira spending most of the time on her bicycle, running around, like running backwards. No joke. I think she probably ran at least a couple miles backwards in this one, or sideways. But she refused to stay engaged. She wanted nothing to do with it. And then she would run forward, miss 30 shots, and then look how many shots she threw. 111, and a lot of those are just like to thin air, not even near DePaula. So like I said, a lot of output, sloppy output, but output nonetheless. I gave Maria that first round despite all the misses, but that doesn't matter because she landed more, and I felt like she was out in front early, even though that DePaula landed some cleaner shots as the fight went on, or as that round went on. But I gave her that first round. And then in the second round, because the more impactful shots were coming from DePaula, but I felt like Oliveira did enough in that first round as far as damage goes to get the 10-9. The second round here, Gloria DePaula, I felt she just picked her apart. Oliveira was walking around. She wasn't talking shit anymore, or she was walking backwards, wasn't talking shit anymore. She was just, DePaula was pretty much doing whatever she wanted. And yeah, Oliveira landed 25 shots, but they were relatively meaningless. They didn't do anything. 41-25 in favor of DePaula here. And then in the third round, Oliveira wasn't talking shit, and then she started talking shit later on. So, I had it 19-19 going into the third round. Sloppy fighting, shit talking, Oliveira licking her gloves and doing all that shit again. I felt like DePaula landed the cleaner strikes. Oliveira landed some of her own, she landed shots that, they weren't pity pat shots. They did enough, but I felt like DePaula did more in this last round. It got really sloppy, and it's not fun sloppy. It's more like just shitty technique and lots of pointless movements sloppy, especially with, her throwing 88 shots and only landing 34 of them. Like I said, most of this stuff is to like thin air, dude. It's so bad. And her output did decrease. She did get tired, and that running backward stuff is not the best look, especially when you're the one talking shit, right? You're like saying, come on, as you're running away. Like, okay, how far do you want me to chase you before you're going to stop? I could see it going to Oliveira. I understand why it did, and it could have gone to DePaula. Scorecards here. Chris Lee had it the first. Had that last round for Oliveira. John Shorley had the last round for DePaula, and Joel Ojeda had the last round for Oliveira. I mean, it was really close, that last round, so I'm not mad at it. I'm not a fan of Oliveira. I don't like, being cocky is one thing, but there's a certain combination of actions that push my buttons, right? It's like the Konami code for pissing me off. And talking shit while getting picked apart, while moving backwards and running away from engagement, like, that pushed all my buttons, and I wanted to see her get knocked out. Like, it was so bad. I scored it for her as far as that last round goes. I mean, you could give it to DePaula. I didn't see it being like it's not controversial at all. It was a close fight. I'm not a fan of that shit. Hopefully she gets her stuff together, and we can actually see a real fight from her in the future. I don't know what the fuck that was. It was so bad. Eddie Weinland taking on Cody Stamann. This is another one of those ones I mentioned in the last video. Seeing the old guard kind of just get put out to pasture. Cody Stamann caught him and then just kept unloading. 27 pretty much unanswered shots. You can see here in the numbers, 27-3. 27 unanswered shots for Stamann after he landed that big shot and rocked Weinland. Weinland was just not able to get his feet under him. He kept trying to throw back. It wasn't good. Stamann really, really put it on him. And that's, Stamann was on three fight, a losing streak. So this was important for him. He's got a win over Kelleher, but a loss to Jimmy Rivera, Merab Dvalishvili, and Saeed Nurmagomedov. So he's traded wins and losses. And he's been fighting long enough in the UFC to where we kind of know where he's at. He's got the skills to put it together. He's just in a very competitive division at bantamweight. All right, another mauling here. Duran Wynn, discount Daniel Cormier over here. Just getting picked apart by Phil Hawes. This fight was not fun to watch. Hawes was landing at will. He dropped Wynn multiple times. He landed about 15 unanswered elbows in that first round, opening Wynn up, opening cuts up on his face, landing a ton of damage, landing kicks whenever he wanted to, rocking Wynn over and over again. It was not fun to watch. It was really painful. Like I said, it was like watching Bully beat down. Like the main fight on this card of the prelims, Natalia Silva. It's one of those things where it's not fun to watch anymore, watching a guy just get picked apart like that when you can see that he's got no recourse. Even if, if he gets a come from behind knockout win, it's one for the ages or whatever. But most of the time, not even 9 times out of 10, we're talking about 999 times out of 1,000. The guy is just going to get taking a shitload of damage, and he just doesn't need to do it. All right, first fight on the card, Roman Dolidze versus Kyle Dawkis. There's probably not going to be a lot of controversy in this one, although I think there should be a little bit. There should be fucking some. Roman landed a headbutt, and then, it didn't open Dawkis up, but there was a headbutt, and it was a hard one, enough to where Dawkis thought that it opened up a cut on above his eye. So if you've ever been hit in the head before, period, let alone head-butted, right? Dolidze ends up getting into the clinch right after this and landing a knee in the clinch, a really hard knee, and knocking Kyle out. The problem with this is how compromised was Dawkis from that knee from that headbutt. And I understand that it's nobody's, it's not a direct fault when the guy it wasn't intentional. It was a clash of heads due to the stylistically, southpaw versus conventional matchup. When they move in, they often bump heads with each other. I understand that happens. It's just you can't remove that from the equation when it comes to damage to the body. Obviously, Dawkis was damaged by it because he had to stop enough to think that he felt like he got hit hard enough that he thought he was bleeding. And that strikes can be cumulative, right? If you take a bunch of small strikes to the head, a small one could knock you out. So taking a big strike like that, how compromised was Dawkis moving forward? We've seen him take big shots before and not go out. It was a good knee in the clinch, and there was it's unfortunate to watch this shit because, again, it was the first fight on the card. There's not going to be a lot of controversy about it because nobody's going to talk about it, and everybody's just going to talk about how Dolidze knocked him out. And it is what it is. It's just unfortunate for it to end like that. I don't think Kyle Dawkis is, a bad fighter or a great fighter or anything, and Dolidze's an excellent fighter. It's just, what are we doing here when it comes to, discussion? I hate that depending on who the fighter is and when they are on the card usually dictates what is discussed by the guys on the desk, because we have the time. The knockout was fast. Can we just mention it just a bit? How compromised was he by that knee? Also, I didn't mention this. Eddie Weinland did retire. A great career for Eddie Weinland. I know he did a lot of his work before he came to the UFC from the WEC. His career just. He never reached the epitome of the sport, the top of the sport in the UFC. I think his best days were behind him early in the, he dumped so much of his self into the UFC early on, the WEC and then the UFC early on. It was at the time when I wasn't watching as much as I was before, like I am now. So I don't have a lot of, a memory of him fighting, even though I know he has. I've seen his highlight reel. I've seen him fight in person when he fought in the Dillashaw versus Barao card in Chicago. I remember seeing him there, and he lost to Brian Caraway. And he's a fun guy to watch. It's just, his style, it just was not sustainable, right? The hands down, weird style. As you get older, unless you're some 1 in a million freak, it's just you're not able to keep up with it. And you could see, man, and his record, he lived by the sword and died by the sword a lot. And it's just, and he's got the good wins on his record. He's also got a lot of losses. He's one of those guys who, when he was fighting up-and-comers or he's fighting guys in the lower echelon of the divisions, he was able to beat them through power, sheer will, awkward movements and that kind of stuff. But once he was fighting the upper-level guys who had the skills and the patience and the timing, he just couldn't get it done. Losing to guys like Uriah Faber, Joseph Benavidez, Hani Yahya back in the day, Johnny Eduardo, Brian Caraway, Renan Barao when he fought for the title, lost to John Dodson, Alejandro Perez, Sean O'Malley, John Castaneda, that was a bad one, and then Cody Stamann. So, I'm glad he's called it quits. He's just taking damage that he doesn't need to take. So, incredible career. I don't necessarily think he's a Hall of Fame fighter necessarily. It's one of those things where he's just had such a long career, and he's an interesting guy as far as style. Obviously, he's got that weird mustache now, and I love that about him. It's just he's not – we can't just wax poetic about every fighter who retires and talk about how amazing they were, like they were the best fighter ever and they just didn't get their shot. That's not the case here. You know, he was a really good fighter who had his moments, and he had his run, you know, in the WEC and then coming into the UFC early on, and he was just derailed by, you know, a generational talent when it came to Renan Barão. And that was kind of it, you know. He was just bounced back and forth between wins and losses for the rest of his career. And, you know, not a bad fighter, not the best in the world ever. It's just a fun, scrappy dude, always there. You know, a Clay Guida type. You know, Clay Guida is different fighting style, right? And I think Clay Guida has more of a claim to, you know, like a Hall of Fame career than Weinland does. So maybe that wasn't the best example. I'm trying to think of another fighter who's up there in years or retired recently that's similar to Weinland. I don't know. You know, and like I said, I got nothing against the guy, and I don't want to shit. I'm not going to shit on his career. He's had a great career. You know, being able to fight for 15 plus years, that's incredible. At the highest level, you don't see that very often. So there's something to be said just for that. But that doesn't mean that you're, you know, the best fighter in the world at any given time either. So, all right, that's it. Not even 20 minutes on this video. So many knockouts, not a lot to break down. Sorry about that if you guys were really interested in listening to me talk. So if you guys like this video, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel because you'll like every other video I put out. I covered the PFL this weekend, PFL 4. I'll cover PFL next week, the next UFC card, all that stuff. If you're looking for the main card, it's in the last video. And like I said, I already covered the PFL one this week. If you're just coming here for this one or this is the last one you're watching, I appreciate y'all. I really do. It means a lot to me. Like the video, and I hope you guys all have an amazing week. Love y'all.